Good morning and welcome to Things You Might Not Have Heard for today. Today just happens to be this one. Let's try that one. Tuesday, May the 9th, 2023. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, as the Chiron says, your bringing you your news side piece since 2022, all the way back, about a year ago. I am going to give you in just a moment 8 news stories from yesterday that are the tops per you in conversational stories. And they're tops because we asked you literally all day long by posting them every 50 minutes what stories you liked and you responded to them. We'll go deeper into how that works so you can make sure that you, as you're popping along, hop along this either video or podcast audio, can be a part of the show and let us know what stories are actually conversational. I, vet them, and we'll explain all that in just a minute. We are your go-to source for supplemental news stories, not necessarily mainstream, but we give you those as well. But some things off the beaten path that make you interesting, make you know a little bit more about what's happening in the world, and maybe win a bar bid or two. We'll do that as well. Plus, we'll go through some birthdays and some history and some things like that, and we wrap up with something called One Last Thing You Might Not Know, one thing that you can really stump your friends with on the day. So we're going to talk about E.G. Carroll and Donald Trump in a bit, but we have 7 other stories to get to. So go to our main website. This is theconversationproject.com, and visit that, and you can go in detail on more things that we do behind the scenes and things we're going to provide for the front of the scenes, if you will, as soon as possible. Let's get into the stories for this morning. This is Tuesday, May 9th, 2023. Starting off with E.G. Carroll, who was exactly Donald Trump's type, her lawyer says in closing arguments, which happened yesterday. Throughout the day, they wrapped things up. Now, the judge in this case gave Donald Trump one last chance till around 5 p.m. Sunday to say, hey, you really want to talk on this thing? Come in and do it. He said while he was in Europe at his golf course, said, I got to go back to New York. I got to deal with this thing, yada. And then his lawyer was like, yeah, we're closing the case. We're wrapping up. And the judge said, well, let's give you one last shot to see what you want to do. And he declined. He didn't come back to New York. At least he didn't go back to the trial and did not testify, did not say anything. And so closing arguments were yesterday. E.G. Carroll's lawyer basically said that Donald Trump's type is essentially a woman. And while it made it even worse that Donald Trump actually mistook E.G. Carroll for his ex-wife, Marla Maples, by looking at a picture and saying, oh, yeah, that's Marla, that's my wife. Meanwhile, the former president's attorney said that Trump denied attacking Carroll during his deposition, and that Carroll's vagueness of the whole timing thing makes it seem like it's a little sketchy. We'll see if this thing goes to deliberation on today. We'll probably, might as well if things close, which means we could come to a conclusion on this one fairly soon. Now, what happens in this case, we will see. The first shot at Donald Trump as a civilian for a case is this one right here. People are kind of thinking, well, shouldn't we, take him for sedition? This is what we got. This is what we'll see what happens. And this one will determine how other prosecutors will deal with him for the other things. A lot of sad stories today. This one starting off first being the Gaylord Rockies resort HVAC system falls in pool in Aurora, Colorado. And of course, bad things happen. And the Aurora fire rescue units were dispatched to the Gaylord Rockies Resort and Convention Center near Denver International Airport around 9:50 a.m. yesterday. Multiple people were called about a collapse of an HVAC system. 6 people were hurt when part of the heating and ventilation system collapsed at the Gaylord Rockies Resort pool in Colorado, on Saturday. 8 firefighters were already conducting training exercises at the property, so they were able to respond to it very quickly. Luckily, the injuries were of a lower level. Nothing serious happened, so that's the good news on this one. We have some other stories today that don't have such great news on this one. This one right here, not exactly a bad one, but we've got to fill up the queue with things, and you guys responded to this one pretty bigly. Mark Zuckerberg wins gold and silver medals at his first jiu-jitsu competition. Yes, the Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg won gold and silver medals at his first jiu-jitsu tournament this weekend. He posted several photos to Facebook and Instagram, of course, of himself grappling with 2 different opponents and posing alongside members of the Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu team. He's been studying mixed martial arts during the coronavirus pandemic, having something to do, and convinced some of his friends to start hitting the gym as well, including SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, who also trains in jiu-jitsu at a California gym. Well, there you go. Other folks that do martial arts because they think it's cool. The PayPal CEO Dan Schulman also does Krav Maga, and Palantir CEO Alan Karp has practiced jiu-jitsu and aikido. So it's all about the rich people needing something to do. I guess. Let's move on to this one right here. Nick Gilbert, son of Cleveland Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert, dies at 26. He died on Saturday from complications related to his neurofibromatosis. There we go. Neurofibromatosis, a genetic disease which he has been diagnosed since 15 months old. Cavs say Gilbert was a light and inspiration to many throughout his 26 years of life and advocated for the fight against neurofibromatosis. Nick represented the Cavs in 2011 lottery, and the team ended up getting number 1, number 4 picks. They selected Kyrie Irving and Tristan Thompson, respectively, on that year. Nick was asked how he felt to know that he was his father's hero, something he said all the time. And he said, well, what's not to like about that? The great humor of the young man, of being an inspiration to his father and the team members of the Cavaliers. He has sadly passed at the age of 26. Another sad story for other reasons. Britney Spears' memoir delayed over concerns about bombshell reveals. They are delaying the printing of Britney Spears' memoir, or the release, I should say, more of it, because people who know Britney and who fear what she has written have sent strongly worded letters to publishers. That's a source telling The Sun, the tabloid, about what's going on. Why? Britney wants to, quote, set the record straight, unquote, with the explosive book, and go into detail about a lot of things that have happened, including some past relationships that many people don't remember the way they planned out, because it is Britney's memoir. A lot of people think Britney has some issues and may be going off the deep end in this memoir. So they're kind of saying, yeah, I don't want my business out there because Britney said it, because things happen. We shall see if released, when released, and what's released. Probably coming sooner than we think. An Iowa baseball team is under investigation. This is college baseball. The University of Iowa baseball team is under investigation by state gambling officials. A few days ago, there was issues in Alabama. Alabama fired head coach Brad Bohannon. Sorry, I had a break. On Thursday of last week, in connection with betting activity, and of course, scratched the starting pitcher for LSU as well, because some strange activity in betting as well. Now, the State Gambling Commission in Iowa is looking into a bunch of team players for that team, as they withheld 4 players from competition for a weekend series against Ohio State, and Ohio State notified NCAA of 15 athletes on online sports wagering. Now, whether they betted on games, on their own games, has yet to be determined, and what exactly they've been betting on, we will find out as they do the investigation. But as you know, in sports, professional sports and college sports, it is illegal to bet in the wager in your sports, and highly illegal to wager on yourself. That basically gets people in trouble. We will see what happens as the investigation comes through for this one here. Teen dies after being trapped under sand at Cape Hatteras National Seashore. A teen trapped under sand, literally in a back dune area behind a main dune, after parts of adjacent dune collapsed, the seashore said. Family and friends tried to pull him out and perform CPR, but he couldn't be revived. The incident is under investigation, and the superintendent of national parks in eastern North Carolina urges visitors not to dig deep holes in the beach. Now, this is something that was very, very sad, and a lot more common than you think. A lot of people in the comments on this story talked about times when they were teenagers playing around in the sand and beaches, digging big holes and kind of getting buried in them, and then trying to get out of them because, it's time to go, and realizing that digging a person out of a hole is very hard to do when they're neck deep in dirt. Essentially, as you're digging them out, because it's sand, it just basically collapses on top of itself and makes it harder to get out of. It's not a quicksand situation. It's literal sand that just gets in the way. Very dangerous to do this thing, so make sure you are very careful in doing this. Yes, the movies make it look like it's fun to be laying down and being buried under sand. As you can see, very deadly in many cases. And finally, this one right here, which breaks my heart the way we have to produce this, but this is one that was in our range, and we'll explain that in just a minute, of people being interested, and a lot of people interested in this one, and you can tell from the comments in the story and the comments from the video that was out there. Video shows Tennessee teen pepper spraying teacher after her phone is confiscated. A student at Antioch High School confronted her teacher after her phone was taken away as a disciplinary action. The student gets up from her desk and walks out of the classroom, and students laugh and joke before following her into the hallway. Female student demands her teacher give her back her phone after she has been pepper sprayed. Another adult emerges from a neighboring classroom and intervenes in the situation. Of course, internet users are looking at bad girls doing bad things and think the student should be expelled and arrested for her actions, which are pretty easy to see. This is a two sides thing, and while the other side doesn't really give very much of leeway to students should not have pepper sprayed the teacher, and the student should have kind of been compliant in the first place. There are two sides, so let's pump the brakes slightly on this one. Like I said, this one is heartbreaking. This one is overly ridiculous, should not have happened, and things like this, because of their ridiculousness, go viral pretty quickly. These are the things that you people kind of put onto, and people on the internet get into, because it's such an easy thing to pull onto. What will come about with this, we probably won't know. This is probably the end of the public action on this one. There may be a follow-up someplace because it's viral. But this is a teaching moment for parents and teenagers on how to act and interact and just get along. I've been in too many situations lately where people just in the stress of not getting along, which is kind of weird because literally, 5-6 weeks ago, a tornado went through my neighborhood, and there were so many people sort of just shell shocked in the thing and just kind of coming together and doing great stuff for people. 6 weeks later, the frustrations are coming back. And so it's hard to kind of fall back into those thought processes where you have to kind of remember, hey, we're all human. We have to give people some grace. We'll see if this is something that we'll get a more detailed follow-up on. But here's an issue where you should be reminded of the act of grace, even if in this case you don't think grace is what's necessarily necessary. Now let's get on to our teaser story for the day. The teaser story is a story that we could talk about tomorrow if you deem this one worthy of being in the feeds being in the feeds worthy of chatting about. You go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. This is the Conversation Project is our page on Facebook, and th_conversation on Twitter. And as you see us posting news stories every 50 minutes or so, engage in them stories. Like them, love them, hate them, share them. The more you see out there are things you want to engage in and want to see us talk about tomorrow, you just do that. It's just very simple. The story for tomorrow possibly could be this one. Kroger will now end weekly ad mailers for all brands. Now, we chose this one as a teaser instead of the Ron DeSantis one that's going to post right about now, before this one actually posts, just because this is something that is sort of nostalgic. Kroger is going to end mailing them the paper sales ads as of now because it's just not cost effective. You can also maybe talk about Ron DeSantis, as he is basically banning TikTok in schools and doesn't want Chinese people to own anything in Florida. That's coming up too. Either of those stories, any story we post all day long, you can engage in and let us know what to talk about. As you say, Facebook.com/this is a conversation project and Twitter.com/th_conversation. Enjoy what you see and like, love, hate, and share it so we know what you enjoy. So I know from the top 15 stories from today through early tomorrow, which of those 8 stories I should basically pull from for tomorrow. Now, we're going to talk about sponsorships because it's what keeps things going. And this is a sponsor that I love talking about because my daughter loves chess, and I love good-looking chessboards. Very terrible at the game. My daughter is 11, and she beats me fairly often because she's actually good, and I'm pretty bad. But the chess store is a way to bring some love and beauty to your life and your house and your travels because they have beautiful chess sets. That's it. Get in love with the game, fall in love with the game all over again with a beautiful chess set, because maybe what you're missing is a great looking set to sit on your coffee table, sit in your office, travel around with. They have plastic travel sets that don't look cheesy. They have great wood, metal themed sets that look beautiful. You can make the world of chess a little better place. And chess is pretty damn interesting these days, as apparently chess masters are going at it like Real Housewives. It gets pretty ugly pretty quickly, and people love it. And you'll love a brand new chess set from the chess store. Go to this is the conversationproject.com/the chess store. This is the conversationproject.com/the chess store. This is an affiliate link, so we do get a cut back from what you buy there, but it costs you nothing extra, and you will love the merchandise they provide for you there at the chess store. Talking about the Conversation Project, because that's where we are. The Conversation Project lives at this, theconversationproject.com. Where you can find more about what we do. We have this thing here, which is an audio podcast, also a video podcast, which we produce as a newsletter where you get the links and links to listen to and watch things back as well. That goes out about 6:20 every morning. We launched this about 6:50 for the video live. Oh, I'm sorry, 5:50 a.m. Central Time for the video live, and then the podcast gets edited sometime when we're done and gets uploaded pretty quickly after that. And we can talk about other things as well. Now, if you think that what we have going on is pretty awesome, then you might want to consider partnering up with us. Go to our partnerships page at our website and see if there's a way that you can help us get things done. Maybe there's actual help you can do, or maybe you want to help fund us directly to get things going. If there's something that we're doing, providing you some great content and we're providing you good value, consider joining us in one of those venues there. We have many ways to take your money because we're not gonna turn away any money. Trust me. So now let's get to the fun stuff. We talked about all the news. We got to the business stuff. Let's get to the fun stuff, which starts off with birthdays on today. Today is May the 9th. It started off with celebrity birthdays, having us Candace Bergen, who is pretty famous for doing lots of stuff, and then became Murphy Brown, and now my generation is stuck with that in our heads. Is 77 years old today, one of Hollywood's hottest young actresses, and now stuck in our heads as the news anchor and the wisecracking Murphy Brown. Billy Joel, the piano man, is 74 years old on the day. Happy birthday to him. Still out there performing, doing a little less because health and things are going on for him right now. But Billy Joel still kicking it at 74, doing great stuff. I was a big Billy Joel fan back in the early MTV days. It's one of those oddity things that are just me. Billy Joel was something I was really into. And another person who is steadily on my list of future ex-wives, this is Rosario Dawson, and she has a very extensive range of work, and she today hits 44 years old today. Happy birthday to Rosario Dawson on this day. How can she be my future ex-wife if I can't say her name? Because she's going to change her name, obviously. So let's go to the next slide. Today in history, learning some things about today, starting off with 1987. This is the day that Tom Cruise and Mimi Rogers were married. That obviously did not go so well. In 1990, Irish singer Sinead O'Connor refused to appear on Saturday Night Live, one of what would have been her second appearance, after chauvinist comedian Andrew Dice Clay was named as a host. Remember, he was a big deal, and people were just not showing up because he was telling those really bad hickory rhyme jokes. I don't even know what that was. We're just going to keep moving on. Yeah, Andrew Dice Clay was a thing. Sinead O'Connor also was a thing, and she refused to perform on SNL because of a thing Dice Clay used to do. And in 2019, a new Australian 50-note bank misspelled responsibility, responsibility, as responsibility, responsibility, on 46 million notes. Sounds like a pretty big problem. For $50 a piece, add 46 million of them. We're not doing math today, but that's a whole lot of money that had to be redone. Today, on May 9th, we went with something that was a little off beaten track. We talked about freedom yesterday. Yesterday was Victory in Europe Day. Today, a bit more cynical as we celebrate Tear the Tags Off Mattresses Day. Because your mattress comes with a tag that tells you can't tear it off. Today, I'm not giving permission, but by gosh, just be a rogue and just tear the tag off your mattress today. Go ahead and do it. No one's going to see you do it, so it's okay. Until the mattress, the Gazappo comes and gets you, and then don't call me for bail. Now, one more thing, the last thing you might not have heard for today. At what age, let's read it properly. At what age is childhood officially over? 12. There you go. In a survey, 3/4 of parents say the childlike qualities are being lost before their kids get to their teenage years. Why? Blaming internet and celebrity culture. Most of parents said our society is forcing children to mature too fast. That should have been a very simple, easy thing to read. It's right there in front of me, and it got butchered. But essentially, 3/4 of parents in a survey said, that's 75% of parents, are saying that 12 is more or less the official age of innocence being over. Although if you have kids, you wonder if like 6 or 7, because I have a mouthy 11-year-old, and trust me, we worry about what's going on. And especially as we've progressed through, 2.5 years, 3 years, 2 years of pandemic, 3 years past, and a lot of stuff going on, happening, especially in a lot of children going through some rough stuff. My daughter going through the tornado was a little bit of a of all the things that she's gone through, was a bit of a downer in some cases, because she's gone through a lot of stuff in her past and in years, just with things happening. So she's a bit more mature. She was a mature 5-year-old, people, oddly on that end. So it is a thing. What we can do is hopefully hold your children, hug them pretty tight, no matter how old they are. My mom will hug my niece and nephew, even though they're in their 20s. She doesn't hug me because I'm a big old grump. But hug your children pretty closely and let them be children as long as they want to be. Because at some point in time, Santa Claus won't be real, and they'll be having to pay a mortgage or something like that. And with that, we wrap up the Tuesday, May 9, 2023 edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. I want to thank you all for being with us for this show today. It's amazing what the outpouring of folks we got from things going on. So thank you so much for letting us know that we were missed while we were gone for in the moving around. We don't have a house, a place to stay. It's hard to put up the camera and lights and a bunch of computer monitors and do this thing. So we thank you, appreciate all the love we got from you for all that. We also appreciate all the comments we got for things that have worked and not worked, and the people who were, I guess, mourning the loss of the green screen, because for some reason just the bandwidth here is not working green screen for the working, but you tend to like things in sync, so thank you very much. With that, we want to remind you to stay hydrated, stay focused, stay limber, stay on task for all the great things you are meant to do in this world. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. Thank you so much. Trying to pull my cable around and missing my arm. For people listening, that made no sense, so just let that go. I'm wrapping up. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, wrapping up for the day. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. If you want to really be a part of the show, we just need you to follow us on our feeds, facebook.com and twitter.com. Our feeds for us are there, where you can enjoy the stories we post for you all day long and tell us what news stories are actually conversational. Don't let Anderson Cooper be the guy that tells you what you want to talk about. You be the guy, the one that tells what to talk about. With that, we're going to bid you adieu on the day, saying thanks, and we'll try to do this thing again a little bit better. We always try to be a little bit better each time. Tomorrow morning.